Lindsey is about to go down in a way that I think he's going to regret his whole life.
Seems like the former vice president was throwing out threats against investigators that would be looking into his abuses in Ukraine. What abuses in Ukraine?
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours?
So they were threatening everybody they could to stop the investigation into Creepy Biden and the pay for play out there. And there was quite a bit of pay for play. We're not going to retry the entire situation in Ukraine, but we do want to highlight and begin this broadcast by, pointing out the red flags. These people are trying to extort their way back into the White House. And if you look into them, they're going to threaten you, and you may disappear like Epstein, ladies and gentlemen. And it seems like the big heads are beginning to roll in this Epstein case. Where is Epstein? Again, multiple cameras, were not working during the Epstein murder. And, the Attorney General has said that they have reviewed all 8 hours of the camera. Which camera, ladies and gentlemen, is the question. Where's the footage? They say they've, the Attorney General himself says that he's seen, all 8 hours of it. Where is that footage? Nobody believes the Attorney General. Nobody believes the Epstein story. It reeks of a massive cover-up. And to understand, how deep the rabbit hole goes, we're going to take a quick walk in history. And we're going to revisit the Watergate scandals, because most people have a little idea of what went on there, but they don't have the full story. It's worse than Operation Northwoods. It's bigger than that. And we're going to play a few clips of that.
Okay. I expected the moment I heard Biden's name.
Sure.
I told my colleagues they're going to try to kill me because they're going to kill the messenger. But damn it, the mafia couldn't kill me.
Right.
Your colleagues are not going to kill me.
Okay.
Wow. So it looks like Giuliani is fearing for his life, and he thinks everybody's out to get him. He must be a targeted individual. Let's get to the Watergate story, because this is truly remarkable.
It is sometimes difficult to realize that we have sitting before the committee not some administrative assistant to some deputy campaign director, but we have the campaign director sitting before this committee. And indeed, we don't have some deputy assistant attorney general sitting before the committee. We have the Attorney General of the United States sitting before the committee. The 27th of January, 1972, Gordon Liddy presented a plan in your office, in the office of the Attorney General of the United States. And that plan, complete with visual aids, included elaborate charts of electronic surveillance and breaking and entering and prostitution and kidnapping and mugging. Now, you've indicated that in hindsight, you probably should have thrown him out of the office.
Out of the window, I think.
Maybe even out of the window, in hindsight. The life of every American, or to a great degree, his liberty, protection of all of his rights sits in the hand of the Attorney General of the United States. And do you mean to tell me that you sat there through that meeting and, in fact, actually had the same man come back into your office for a second meeting without in any way alerting appropriate authorities, in this particular case, the President of the United States?
That is exactly what happened, Senator.
Okay, so you just heard quite an astonishing confession right there about kidnapping, mugging, breaking and entering, wiretapping, the works. This was all plotted in the office of the Attorney General. And then the senator's like, Well, why didn't you, talk to the president about this? Why didn't you order the FBI to investigate, the proposals that you just heard from this special operative, part of the plumber crew of the Nixon administration? So they had, project managers looking to basically attack enemies. And they had an enemies list, and members of Congress were on that enemies list, and there's no telling how many people were actually affected by that program. But as remarkable as that is, it's true. The Attorney General was basically the mastermind, served 17 months, as well as some of the other characters. Quite a few people actually went to prison. Gordon Liddy and many others. Let's get to the enemies list here real quick.
Mr. Dean, I would like to now refer to a memo dated August 16, 1971, and you have testified that this was prepared for Mr. Haldeman, Mr. Ehrlichman, and others at the White House. It is dated August 16, 1971. It's classified confidential. Subject, dealing with our political enemies. I'd like to read part of this, sir. This memorandum addresses the matter of how we can maximize the fact of our incumbency in dealing with persons known to be active in their opposition to our administration. Stated a bit more bluntly, how we can use the available federal machinery to screw our political enemies. In your testimony, you have submitted several exhibits with lists of names, politicos, members of Congress, members of the media, members of the entertainment field, etc., etc. And taking this memo together with that list,
I might add also, Senator, before we go forward, I don't believe that list is complete in and of itself. It just happens to be a part that I received and had access to before my files were shut down. There may well be additional names and additional information available on that.
Mr. Dean, I believe one list would have been enough.
So they had extensive lists on their enemies, and this was, way back in the day during the Nixon administration, where things were still fairly, gentlemanlike, much different than today. And this just really sets the precedent for what the deep state has become, what government has become. It's become a weapon against the opposition, and it's all about oppression, tyranny, and abuse. And no matter who's in charge, they're always abusing the system, gaming the system. It's become standard operating procedure, so much that you've got, Vice President Biden, bragging on air like, oh yeah, we bribed the Ukrainians, fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the money. And he's out there now, basically threatening the other candidates or investigators. How many times has he said that he's going to beat up Trump physically? This guy is so out of touch. I mean, he's basically groping the little children right there on C-SPAN. And it's almost as if he gave a Prince Andrew type of interview. And he might as well have been on the BBC while he was groping those children, saying he doesn't know what's going on. He can't remember because the evidence is right there. What happened to Epstein? What's going on with these little children? You really need to check out the Finder's document dump, because at the beginning of that case, they were hauling off, child pornography, and they were claiming children were sexually abused, and then the whole case got shut down. And then the Podesta files came out. We learned about more abuse, more Finders-like cults out there, and that's just really the tip of the iceberg. And people were laughing in 2016. They were laughing at the Podesta files, the Pizzagate, even the DNC files that came out. But after they whacked Epstein, people weren't laughing anymore. And you can be a Republican, you can be a Democrat out there, but I don't think anybody can really look away from, the evidence that is desperately being that they're desperately trying to bury with other news like this impeachment and anything but Epstein, anything but the Podesta files, anything but the WikiLeaks. You know, they locked up Assange and the like, and you know, torturing that guy right now as we speak, and nobody seems to care. The whole system is, you know, totally corrupt, run amok, and it's worse than you can possibly imagine. It's much, much worse than you can possibly imagine out there. And we try to, you know, talk about the big picture in every broadcast, the eugenics programs, how they're trying to spike the water with fluoride, how they're spiking the vaccines with adjuvants, how they're spiking the food with neurotoxins, i.e. pesticides, how they're bringing the death towers to a neighborhood near you. And this is why we're saying to people, look, if you don't have a meter, you're running around naked out there, you should really know what you're being exposed to, because it's certainly out of this world. Compared to what the Bioinitiative reports say, people are being overly exposed to the death towers and to the eugenics programs as a whole. And behind, you know, these programs of death is a cult of death. It's the dark side, as you might imagine it. Raping children, worshiping the devil, trying to kill everyone. It's a fucking nightmare out there. And of course, you know, this cult basically runs not only government and Hollywood, but the politicians as well, the media as well. Government, Hollywood, the media, the whole thing is basically under their control. There's no way to, you know, penetrate you know, what's going on, because they control every facet of, you know, the television. They control the investigations. They control the politicians, the spokespersons, the agenda, what they'll be investigating, you know, in Congress and the like. And the news is just, you know, repeating or setting the narrative and making sure that everybody's on the same page. So they've got everybody in this bubble where they're focusing on impeachment or Russians, but they're not focusing on what's really going on. The eugenics programs, the roundup and persecution of conservatives, the anti-Christian agenda out there. And essentially that's what we're looking at. We're looking at cult members, we're looking at devil worshippers that are persecuting Christians, that are trying to ban the Bible. And now, you know, California is starting to look like hell on earth. But at the root of, you know, the problem here, it's evil. It's pure evil, to say the least. And it's only going to get worse, ladies and gentlemen, unless something is done. And, you know, everybody should be an active member of the resistance in their town, or organizing networks, stopping the 5G, raising awareness about the fluoride, the vaccines. Take this fight to the real world in your town. Make new friends, network, grow that network. That's going to be super important, you know, in our quest to get America back. And everybody should be a superhero in their community. I know it sounds corny. I know it sounds cheesy. I know people don't want to leave the comfort of their own home, but you should make some flyers on 5G, make some flyers on, you know, vaccines, fluoride, death towers, you name it. Get people involved in these issues in your town, in the real world. And if everybody does that where they're at, it's going to make a huge difference. I mean, towns right now are stopping the 5G, and you know, because citizens are going to the city council, they're raising awareness, they're getting on the news. You can do it, man. You can do it. And if you want to get motivated, then get a meter. You want to know what you're being exposed to, what your kids are being exposed to, you know, at the grocery store, at the schools, at the park, you know, you name it, they're getting dosed. And you're getting dosed as well with everything, all the wireless crap you got at home. You really need to know what you're getting dosed with. You need a meter. Shop around. Get the one that's best for you. We recommend the EMF 390. It's the best for the money at only $109. Straight from the manufacturer in Seattle. Ships worldwide. 1-year warranty. It picks up the death towers, electric fields, magnetic fields, and it just blows away the competition in terms of, you know, the display, the modes, and the like, as well as the bandwidth that it picks up, 0 to 10 gigahertz, much broader than most meters out there. And certainly don't get screwed by the El Cheapo at Home Depot that only picks up electric fields. You get what you pay for. You get a $20 meter. It doesn't pick up the death towers. You might as well just not get one. But you want to fight back against this system. And this entire system is corrupt. I mean, this administration is pushing the 5G. They're locking up Assange. You may like what they have to say, but behind the scenes, they're really out there serving the interests of the dark side. It's hard to believe. You can't accept it. You're in denial, like 9/11, like, you know, perhaps Obama at the beginning, whatever. But look, the evidence is pretty clear. I mean, they hired, you know, Epstein's pedophile prosecutor that just let Epstein walk. And, you know, they got all sorts of, you know, pictures of themselves with Epstein and Clinton and all that. There's no denying the evidence. I mean, you can live in denial if you want to. You can be upset and whatever. But look, I think it's in everybody's interest to think about the facts and not what you're hoping for out there. This isn't hope and change anymore. These people are all corrupt. And, you know, we could just, you know, go down the list. You know, basically day one, they throw Flynn to the wolves and the like. And then it's just, you know, one thing after another. The Gladio B events in Syria. Look, all these people need to face questioning like the prince, you know, whether it be Clinton and Trump, you name it. Like, you know, how many times did you go to Epstein's Island? How many times were you on the jet? How many times were you, you know, hanging out together? You know, what did you do? Et cetera, and listen to their responses and see if they're credible. I think that everybody deserves their opportunity to defend themselves. And until this is laid to rest, I mean, people are really just going to wonder. And, you know, in this next election, it's going to be so tight that they don't have room for ambiguity, you know, for questions that we don't have answers to. And if people, you know, don't have full confidence in this administration, they're just going to opt out in the next election, and it's really going to be a landslide for the Democrats. And nobody wants that. I think that, you know, they should tell us more about their 5G that they're rolling out everywhere, because they've made that a national security priority. And so 5G is going to be on every street corner thanks to this administration. And that's going to be the backbone for RoboCops and Terminators and, you know, basically Minority Report out there. And, you know, look, it looks like they live on the television. And, you know, it looks like they're trying to exterminate mankind as we know it. Georgia Guidestones, the eugenics programs. I think people should be focusing on these types of questions, like what happened to that dude? What's up with the devil horns and the like that this guy's got on his forehead? It's quite clear that there's something going on. You've seen the clones on television and the like, and you know, you might have asked yourself the same questions. And of course, the news is never going to tell you what's going on. You know, and they're not doing memos anymore about their enemies list, you know, like they did during the Nixon days. So that's the thing that's, you know, important to understand. You know, crime bosses basically just say, hey, we don't want to see this dude anymore. Make it happen. They're not, you know, out there writing a big novel, leaving a big paper trail. And so there'll be no IG report. There'll be no, you know, evidence on paper that tells people, you know, this is what's going on. Unless you look at the WikiLeaks, which basically admits that these people are all, you know, in it together like a bunch of Charlie Manson groupies, raping children, plotting your demise. And, of course, this is why Julian Assange is in prison. This is, of course, why, you know, they just say the Russians did it every time people think about the WikiLeaks. They're like, the Russians. You know, even this president's like Russian interference. What the are you people talking about? Did you see the WikiLeaks? Did you understand what, you know, they're talking about? It led to the whole Epstein thing, and they whacked Epstein. And of course, you know, if that wasn't you know, confirmation, then nothing would be. You know, why did they lock, you know, Epstein up? You know, he was convicted of child sex trafficking. They found all sorts of child pornography there. It fits exactly in with what the Podesta files were talking about, the whole Marina Abramovich Spirit Cooking, the links to Hollywood, the politicians. I mean, it was like, you know, the Finders all over again, the Rent Boys all over again, Bohemian Grove all over again, Jekyll Island all over again, 9/11 all over again. And it's just, you know, the same group of people out there, you know, pushing the lies so that we're not looking at the big picture, the epic struggle of good versus evil. You know, they're trying to basically push, you know, Sodom and Gomorrah everywhere because it's evil, not because of, you know, some kind of love or anything like that. It's about promoting evil, like Desperate Housewives, like everything on the television, the drugs, the violence, you name it. You know, we've gone from Leave It to Beaver, The Brady Bunch, Happy Days to where we are today because of the television, because of Hollywood, Peter Wood, because of the music industry, because of the news, because of the politicians. The television tells you it's okay, so it must be okay. But these people are working for the devil. And many of them are like clones, or they're like Westworld, and they're just reading a script.
Turned out.
They're script readers. Now, we've got a few more interesting videos that we want to play here for people. So hang on. Here we go.
You said it's not going to hurt you. Are you afraid, Mr. Mayor, that you could be indicted?
Oh, wow.
Oh.
But how long have you known me, Ed?
I've known you several years.
You think I'm afraid?
I don't know.
You think I get afraid?
Well,
I did the right thing. I represented my client in a very, very effective way.
He's having a Clint Eastwood moment there. He's like, do you think I'm afraid? And it's just the way he says it, too. It's really kind of like, you know, it's real Hollywood. Here, listen to it.
You said it's not going to hurt you. Are you afraid, Mr. Mayor, that you could be indicted?
Oh, wow. But how long have you known me, Ed?
I've known you several years.
You think I'm afraid?
I don't know.
You think I get?
You talking to me? You think I'm afraid? You think I'm afraid? Listen to why Giuliani's not afraid.
Have you talked to President Trump in the last week or two? Have you met with him? Are you still his counsel?
I do not discuss my conversations with my client. You can assume that I talk to him early and often.
Yeah.
And have a very, very good relationship with him. And all of these comments, which are totally insulting.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen things written like, he's going to throw me under the bus.
Right.
When they say that, I say, he isn't, but I have insurance.
They have insurance, ladies and gentlemen. And look at this jewelry, man. Look at this. I mean, he's got some like 100-carat rings there. It's probably at least, you know, 250 grand on the left hand, and maybe another 25, 50 grand on the right hand. Just rings, just bling bling for the mayor. And, you know, we've got to point out that he seems like, you know, the voice is, you know, is a little troubling in this video. We happen to zoom in on the eyes. It seems like one pupil is much larger than the other. That's usually a sign of something, either drugs or trauma. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's something else that we don't know. And Giuliani's just trying to, you know, make a name for himself on the way out. But there are some other real interesting tidbits from this interview that we want to play.
Ukrainian official met with Devin Nunes, the Republican who's the top Republican on the Intel Committee, you know well, met with this former Ukrainian prosecutor general, Viktor Shokin, in Vienna, and that this happened last December. Do you know anything about that meeting? Devin Nunes is denying it. Did Devin Nunes meet with him?
Poor Lev. I don't know what he's doing to himself. I think once again that's going to be shown to be provably untrue. I do not believe that Devin Nunes met with Shokin. This is the first I would have heard of that. I think I would have heard of it if it happened. It was before he was actually doing anything for me. That wasn't really until late December, early January. I don't know why he wants to do this. He didn't do anything wrong.
I don't know why he wants to do this. So the reporter's like, so we hear that Devin was working for you in December. And classic Giuliani these days, he's like, no, he wasn't working for me in December. And then it's like, oh yeah, late December, yeah, he was there. I don't know why they're doing this. I've got the insurance policy.
Well, I used him to find people in Ukraine because I couldn't trust anyone else. The FBI was closed off to me because the witnesses didn't trust the FBI. They had brought their case to the Justice Department and had been turned away, and were worried about the Justice Department. If I went with some other people, it would have been leaked. So they helped me find people, and as I've said, they did a good job.
Okay,
but
so
they weren't investigators, and they weren't James Bond.
right.
And
They're just members of Congress, doing the investigation. And it just seems, it seems real cute. The whole way it just came out, and it must mean that they've got some more evidence. And of course, there's like 2 Giuliani officials that have been arrested, or Giuliani, associates that have been arrested, and the like. And nobody likes, pointing out inconvenient truth out there. But I think it is newsworthy. It seems like there's more things going on that we aren't aware of, and looks like it's part of the scuttling of the ship. Again, there's multiple interests here. We know Giuliani was attached to 9/11 New World Order, all of that stuff. So, what are his true motives in this administration? Like most other people in this administration, they've been puppets for the dark side, sabotaging and the like. But, given what we know, it feels like every person in this administration, for the most part, is operating according to script, including the president. And, we could go through that over and over again. But it just seems like, this whole Ukraine story, which is, looks like an open and shut case. In the transcripts, they mentioned Biden 3 times. We know that, behind the scenes, they hadn't gotten paid. And so, it's kind of like, the crime boss isn't going to be like, yo, I don't want to see that guy no more. Or should we say, go whack the guy. They're going to say, we just don't want to see him around anymore. And it just seems like it's an open and shut case. Why would that happen the day after the Russia story closed with the Mueller report and everything? It just seems like, this is part of the script, the whole thing. We're not going to get lost in that particular subtopic, but the whole thing is really just all part of the New World Order scam, and they just have you cheering for one guy or another. And this time it's just been better than, the previous administrations. And it has to be, because more people are awake and more people are, skeptical, criticizing what's going on. And so they just can't come out with the same old, skull and bones versus skull and bones kind of routine. And so they've become a little more creative with The Apprentice and the like, but it's still the same song and dance. And if it wasn't the same song and dance, they would have locked up Hillary. They wouldn't have locked up Julian Assange. They would have reinvestigated 9/11. They would have rolled back some of these death towers. They would have, fully pursued the Pizzagate investigation and the Podesta files. They would have locked somebody up. They would have built, the entire wall. They would have stopped the drug crisis. We wouldn't be here, wondering if they're going to impeach this president. He would have just steamrolled him in the first 2 years, sent out the military if he had to. Because this is a true threat to our democracy. We've got Luciferian cult members everywhere raping children, trying to poison everybody, and nobody's calling the military, nobody's being arrested. I mean, this is beyond a doubt. And, the level of corruption is so significant and so widespread that you'll never get the system to investigate and arrest itself in its current state of affairs. And there needs to be, an entire flushing of the system, and and truly objective and independent people need to look at what has transpired, because obviously the media is just an extension of the DNC, and they're all covering for themselves and looks like the Republicans are no better. They're just like the controlled competition, if you will. It's like the way the system is set up right now. It's like you get to choose between McDonald's and Burger King, but the same owners, own them both. And it's the same way for the media. It's the same companies that own pretty much all the media out there. It's the same companies that own the same political parties, and they're all pushing this anti-Christian, ban the Bible, groom your kids agenda. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. This should be, what everybody's talking about. Forget, what the news is talking about. People should be like, how do we get these finders? How do we get these spirit cookers? How do we get these cult members? How do we get these people that, are living out the Georgia Guidestones? How do we get these people that have sold their souls to the devil, that are, basically body snatched by the demonic? How do we get these pedophiles, this organized crime that has corrupted society? How do we end the tyranny? How do we stop the death towers? That's, the kind of thing that people should be talking about. How do we get the fluoride out of the water? How do we stop these toxic vaccines? They could make safe vaccines, but they make toxic vaccines. How can we stop the genocide? How can we stop the endless wars? How can we stop the corruption? How can we stop the evil out there, ladies and gentlemen? And the answer is right there in the Bible. The answer is right there in the Bible. And the minute that we took the Bible out of schools was the minute that we started seeing this country plunge towards, the gutters. And, America has never looked the way it looks today, for better or for worse. And you just see how many people are left behind, how many people have been transformed into libtard zombies out there. We haven't improved as a country. Things have gotten much, much worse. And we're on the wrong road. Most people can feel that. We're not headed in the right direction. And unfortunately, these political parties will never deliver us what we're looking for. Never. And to put your faith in the state, to put your faith in government, to put your faith in politicians, is to be putting your faith in the dark side. And these people may pretend like they're on the same side as we are, but you can tell them by their fruits. And they haven't done anything about Common Core. They haven't done anything about this LGBT education system. They haven't done anything about these open borders. They haven't done anything about the drug crisis, the sex abusers, the cult members, the genocide. They've gone after the whistleblowers. They're fully involved in new Gladio B events, namely in Syria and the like. You should check out the new Duma leaks from WikiLeaks. It seems like the reports, the UN reports on the gas attacks in Syria were altered, doctored, more WMDs in Iraq kind of thing. The whole thing's a scam. And look, they're killing innocent people with our tax money. They're raping children with our tax money. They're funding and protecting criminals with our tax money. The whole system is corrupt. It must end immediately. And this must be like, your number one hobby out there, instead of whatever you're doing that actually enables this system to continue. So complacency is a crime, and being passive to all of this is a crime. And you can look at whatever the trolls are saying, but these people are just agents of the dark side. Anybody that would object to the mountain of evidence that's here is really nothing less than an agent of the devil itself, coming in, trying to troll, what's this, what's going on, et cetera, the Russians, you name it. It is exactly what you think it is out there, and much, much worse. Till the next time, ladies and gentlemen, check out our website, stfnreport.com. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.